Welcome to another edition of the channel's Mailbag. So what is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is the part of the channel that you guys actually control. It's based on comments, questions, general feedback that you guys leave either on the YouTube channel, the website, or through one of my social media feeds. Mailbag contains what I think the answer is, what I think my view of the comment is, or sometimes, I just throw it out to the wider audience and say, what do you guys think? That's what Mailbag is. So let's get in to the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. This comment question comes from Off the Matrix in response to Korg Kronos 3, touching quicker, Yamaha SY77 preset reuse mailbag I did in April 2025. And Off the Matrix writes, I have a Kronos 2. It would be great if the software could be updated to make it a Kronos 3. If you seem to indicate that the Kronos 2 could be upgraded, but when I listen to talking about faster display on the Kronos 3, it seems the hardware could be changed in the Kronos 3, making the upgrading possible. Now, lots of people keep asking me about Kronos 2 to Kronos 3 and whether you can do this by software. And I can only repeat the comments that have been made by various Korg representatives since they announced that the Korg Kronos 3 was indeed being launched. Yes, they have stated the hardware in the Kronos 3 is not compatible with the hardware in the prior Korg Kronos models. Whether some bright spark will prove that statement wrong is yet to be seen. But they've also stated that the operating system upgrade required to run the Kronos 3 will be made available to all other Kronos platforms. I guess they will just leave the code and drivers in place to run the older software, run the older hardware. They've also stated that sounds introduced to the Kronos 3 will be available for the older Kronos instruments. That statement was made at NAMM. The statement that were made at NAMM was for free. However, you might need to upgrade your SSDs to accommodate the additional 21 gig of samples that involves. So, there you go. Yeah, those were the statements that were made at NAMM. The videos are on YouTube. You can go and watch them yourselves, but you might need to watch several videos. I think I watched dozens of videos of people making stuff at NAMM and going to the Korg stand, and various Korg representatives making various statements, which I jotted down. So they were statements that were made. The Kronos 3 is now being released. People have it. In terms of has the software arrived yet, I have to be honest and say at the time of recording this, I have not gone to the Korg website and looked to see if there was an updated OS, driver set, firmware, whatever it happens to be. Next one comes from Dan Wirtz, and this was in response to Korg Kronos 0 since 0 news since Korg Oasis. Does the new Korg Kronos have Karma mailbag I did in April 2025? And Dan writes, having played with the software which was the VST Triton Extreme, my personal hope is the next most logical Kronos will be part of the Korg collection as a VSTi, and it will be cross-compatible with the hardware. The biggest problem with the hardware has always been its limitation in terms of things like 4 gig of memory. Now, I've got to be honest and say many people have contacted me over the last year saying, when are Korg going to release a Kronos VST? And you're not the only one, obviously, to say that. So I initially thought that a 4 gig limit would apply as this would be installed on a 64-bit environment, but then I had thought if they want it to be cross-compatible, then they would have to run 32-bit, and therefore maybe it doesn't apply. But how do I put this? So a number of commentators have pointed out that the some of the engines on the Kronos are actually available on VSTs, but they're not available as the Kronos engines. They're available as other engines. So that kind of muddies the waters in terms of the Kronos engines. Do we think they're going to do something like the Montage, where effectively you have a software version of the Montage and the keyboard version of the Montage? I don't know. With the launch of the Korg Kronos 3, I think it has really muddied the waters. But I think the launch of the Kronos 3 has also given Korg a bit of time in terms of how they work with the platform. So what I would say about this is that Korg have always kept the lineage of the workstations quite close to their chest, and we don't know what's going on. People have been banging on about the next synth for a number of years, and Korg have really remained quite quiet on this, including their partners and their supporting artists. So the bottom line is we just don't know. They have been releasing VSTs. A number of people have picked up VSTs, but if you want to work in the hardware realm, then a VST is kind of doesn't really cut the mustard. And I know many musicians prefer to sit at a keyboard and work with the hardware rather than having to keep bounce backwards and forwards to a VST or a computer environment. There are lots of artists out there that love the computer environment, and I think it's kind of whatever gets the job done, I suppose, is the key to this one. But personally, give me one of these any day.